So with Ignite being focused on Spark 6, delivering your value proposition, this is one of the best things that you can do for yourself and your business. There are thousands of real estate agents, and more often than not, the people that are in your world are going to know you and at least 2 other agents that come to mind at any given time. It's your job to make sure that you're telling your story, a compelling story as to why someone would want to be with you, why someone would want to do business with you. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is really helping to develop that story for yourself. So as always, successful agents focus on these 2 things every single day. They focus on growing their business and running their business. Growing their business looks like lead generation for buyers and sellers. Once you have those done, then it's making listing presentation to sellers to get listing agreements. It's making buyer consultations to get buyer agreements. And then it's previewing real estate every single day so that you know the inventory and you can speak to it at a high level. When it comes to running your business, you're going to market seller listings. Once you get those listings, you're going to want to take buyers out to show property once they have a buyer brokerage agreement. You're going to want to negotiate contracts when it's time for them to buy a home or sell a home. And then we're going to do transaction management, the critical dates, and taking our customers through this process so that they understand exactly the way that it should go. We're going to be intentional about our vendor management. The people that help us handle difficult transactions every day, our lending partners, our title partners, our photographers, our home inspectors, these people that are a part of our world a lot. We want to make sure that they deliver the same level of customer experience as what you want to deliver. We're going to set goals for ourselves, for our business, and for our future. We're going to make sure that we are as risk averse as possible by working with our compliance officers and our broker of record and our broker resource, Murray Coleman. We're going to attend training like today so that you can have a really great mindset around your business, the things that you need to do. And then you're going to get coaching. Make sure that you have accountability set up and that it's there to push you to the next level. And then we need to manage our money so that we can build wealth. So understanding and defining your value. You're going to want to describe your value by crafting a simple and precise description of the benefit to your client by working with you. 2, we want to convey that information by clearly identifying what you will do to earn your commission. And then we're going to hold a covenant, and that is to make your value proposition a covenant between you and your client. There are 3 aspects of service that we want to focus on. So one is the purpose. Know the underlying purpose of the real estate profession. Why do you exist, and why is it that something like Open Door or Zillow or some of these other companies, why they just can't automatically do it in a either a lockbox code situation or something like that? We need to know our value proposition, what we're focusing on today, on how to communicate a clear sense of how you will deliver on the purpose that you've identified. And then we actually don't do fiduciary because we're transaction brokers. However, we want to make sure that our clients understand that their needs are heard and valued, and that we want to give them as much information as possible so that they can make an informed decision. So let's get to the chat box and let's answer this first question. So what is the underlying purpose of real estate? Go ahead in the chat box, tell me what is the underlying purpose of the real estate industry, right? Not just real estate, buy, sell real estate. We're not talking about that. The actual industry. Why do you have a job? Why should someone pay to work with a licensed real estate professional? Go ahead and put that in the chat box, and that'll be for us to discuss this question. So Kelly said upholding laws and regulation. Absolutely. Hopefully. Many of you just finished doing the how not to go to jail class. So there is that. Bo said to negotiate on their behalf, to value property correctly, to guide them through contract to close. Eve said to provide a clear, concise method to address the transfer of real estate between entities. Absolutely. Thank you for that Oxford definition. I appreciate that. Linda said to best guide people through the process to help them find a clear path. And Kelly Reynolds says you are acting as a guide to get someone through a transaction. So I'm getting a lot of guides. A lot of that is fantastic. And so how do you answer that question when someone's like, I've sold many houses myself. I don't need a guide. How do we handle that? Bo said to speak to the value of the investment and needing to know the path correctly to get the best outcome. I like that. That's a great answer. Let's go on to the next one. So this is talking about value. And so it's the proposition. So actually understanding that proposition, right? If we just think of it from the perspective of propping something up, then it's the idea that we want to make sure that our value is seen above, right? We're propping up our value among the other choices that are out there. And so one, we have to trust that if we are expressing our value proposition to someone, that they're already in the mindset that they are going to use someone's services. It's now my job just to make sure that my value proposition looks like I am the better choice out of the choices that they have. So understanding functionary versus fiduciary, this is going to get very gray, so I'm going to touch this lightly, no pun intended, to the background. It is that when we are not single agencies, we're not single agents, we do not carry fiduciary actions. We do not have complete confidence. We don't do loyalty, right, in the sake of loyalty. So understanding that functionary in the terms of these two questions, or these two words rather, is that functionary is from the purpose of just saying, you're doing it for a paycheck. And fiduciary is that you're doing it so that you can have customers for life. And if I can frame it in that way, and if you will go with me in that frame, then we can kind of bounce through this without you feeling like you have to have fiduciary to your clients. So knowing and stating your value. So one of the greatest things that can happen with data is that we can get really great information on how to speak to clients the way that they want to be spoken to. So one of the things is to understand what buyers want. By looking at this information, the majority, the lion's share of what buyers are looking for is they want help to find the right home to purchase. Then that's followed by they want help to negotiate the terms of the sale. And then lastly, they want help with price negotiations. Then of course, there is the other. So when you're looking at graphs like this of where the National Association of Realtors have surveyed hundreds of people, then what we can do is we want to make sure that we're using this language in our marketing materials when we're meeting with someone and letting them know, I just want to let you know this evening that one of my main goals, or my main goal here, is to first help you find the right home to purchase. Once we do find that right home to purchase, I'm going to then help you to make sure that we're negotiating the terms of sale that are the best for you and what you're looking for. And then lastly, through that process is to help you with price negotiations if we are in that place, right? I mean, you could literally use those top three in your language when you're setting up expectations for the evening for your buyer consultation. You can understand what buyers value. So here's the next thing, is that they value the reputation of the agent or the agency. So keep this in mind, that if you see this and immediately go, oh my goodness, my reputation, I mean, what is my reputation? I haven't sold anything. Well, you do have reputation from people that you've worked with. Everyone here has come from a different career before moving into this space. If you do not have client testimonials for being a real estate agent, you can absolutely reach out to people that have worked with you that can talk about what it's like to work with you, your values, your work ethic. Because for me, the reputation of an agent is not just how big is their name or are they a household name that people can think of. Reputation for me is, what is the underlying level of service that you're going to provide, and is that in alignment with what I'm looking for? With that, you're also with the #1 brokerage in all of South Pinellas. So letting people know that they can trust that when they work with you, they're working with someone who works with 290 other agents that make up the #1 brokerage in all of South Pinellas that sells more real estate than anyone else, and they can trust that when they're working with you, that they're going to be able to experience what the power is of working with a large brokerage like Keller Williams. Second is that they're going to talk about agent is honest and trustworthy. And this is a wonderful thing for you to use the Y4C2Ts into your value proposition. So understanding that when you work with me, there's a set of things that are called the Y4C2Ts. It's not just your Wi-Fi password at the office. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat box so that you know what I'm talking about. And so you're going to want to get very comfortable with the Y4C2Ts, because one of the things that's there, one of the T's in the Y4C2Ts is trust, right? And trust starts with honesty, letting them know that when you work with me, these are the set of values that I have as a business owner. So right from the beginning, the W is win-win or no deal. I want to make sure that you are comfortable and confident in the decisions that we're going to be making, and that you feel that everything was done with the view that should be a win-win for all parties involved. The I is integrity. To do the right thing. I like to believe that I'm an integral person that's going to do right by you, do right by the transaction. And I would like to believe that my integrity is deeply woven into my business. The 4 C's starts with customer, because the customer always comes first. And I want to make sure that you feel comfortable and confident and that your needs are being met through this process. Communication, I'm going to seek first to understand where you're coming from, why you have a decision, why you have hesitations, and see if I can't help you make a decision that's going to be both right for you and right for the process, right? And so you can go through these line by line, knowing each part of the acronym, because I promise you that when this is saying that someone wants an agent who is honest and trustworthy, by me having my value system as a part of my marketing material, if I'm potentially competing against other agents that don't have a value system at all, what do you think the narrative is for a customer to see that? That was a live question. What do you think that the narrative is, or the story that a client tells themselves, a customer tells themselves, when they see that you have your values are so strong to you that they're written into your marketing material? Yeah, Eve says impressive. There's comfort. Kelly said comfort, absolutely. And also, what's the story that's being told when you have your values printed and your competitors do not? What do you think that does for your value proposition? Yeah, that values matter to you. Absolutely. It's a big plus. Thank you, Eve. And so I want to be clear that you don't have to then go and go, well, I don't want to copyright, so I can't use the Y4C2Ts. You absolutely can. That's part of the big part of being with Keller Williams, is that these are here. That's part of, for many of you, you chose to come to Keller Williams usually for one of 3 reasons. One is that you liked the culture, which the Y4C2Ts is a part of that culture. You liked the training and coaching aspect of it because you wanted to get better, and maybe you liked those two things. And then lastly is the size and name recognition of Keller Williams. Those are typically the top 3 reasons why people join Keller Williams. And I use the people also as synonymous with culture. So being mindful of that is that for you join specifically by design things that are like the Y4C2Ts. So what sellers want, they want help selling and to market to potential buyers. So how much of your language is, I'm a marketer first, real estate agent second. When I'm a listing specialist, my job is to market your property to the masses. How often are you using the word market or marketing, and really making sure that they understand that as a listing specialist, as a person who lists a property, your job is to market it to the masses, to market it to the broker community and then to the buyer community. So right from the very beginning, I want to make sure that my marketing material is reflecting exactly the job that you're hiring me to do. That's followed by helping price the home competitively. So I'm going to let you know that my average list price to sales price ratio is 98.7%. If you don't know your numbers, then that's fine. Wait a little bit of time and you will get some. However, maybe you talk about the fact that you use a lot of different material. You go to trainings where appraisers speak on home pricing. You come to classes like Ignite, where we focus on doing the comparative market analysis and some of the other things that are here. So understanding those things can be very, very helpful in making sure that that's a part of your material. They want to help sell a home within a specific time frame. So you mean to tell me that sellers are looking for someone to help them sell their home for the most amount of money in the time frame that works for them? Well, that is the first 3 portions of the pie, right? To market their home to potential buyers, to price the home competitively, and to do it in a specific time frame. From there, then they're going to need help finding the buyer for the home. So oftentimes they understand that you might not be the person who procures the buyer, and yet your efforts are probably the thing that's going to get the broker community to know about the property. And so that's how we can help. We are going to help with negotiation and dealing with buyers. And yet one of the things that's here with negotiation is understanding my job. You know, I say this when I work with buyers, especially in a market that has been like the one that we're in. My job is not to get you the best deal of the century, right? I'm not here to haggle like a street market. I'm here to use every tool in my toolbox possible to negotiate so that you secure the home that you're looking for, right? And so making sure that the language that we're using, by the way, all of this is a script. So if you're sitting there watching this and part of your brain goes, I don't like scripts because they sound robotic, but then you're also saying, man, I really like the stuff that he's saying. I wish that it was written down so that I can incorporate it into my business. That's called a script. So I'm always a big advocate of scripts, and I'm going to do a little jab at you to make sure that you all are converted and being script masters too, right? Okay, and then making sure that we're really focused on the activities that are there. A seller is really valuing the reputation of an agent. Again, going back to the brokerage, what are you going to do to market my home? What's the material going to look like? So do you have copies of the type of postcards that you send out? Maybe you're sharing with them one of the videos that you do as a virtual walkthrough for one of your previous listings. I mean, give them the experience that when they work with you and that they're impressed, right? No one buys a home, less than 1% of America buys a home through a magazine. And yet how often do potential sellers give their listings to an agent who's in a magazine because they think that their home is going to be featured in a magazine? Remember, everyone wants to look good and be right. And part of looking good is to be able to say, wow, look at my home, look at these pictures, look at the things that are there. If someone is proud of the type of marketing that you do, they're going to feel a big ease. So don't go cheap when it goes to doing your real estate marketing, especially with your listings. You don't have to spend an exorbitant amount of money either, but just make sure that you're taking the proper steps to market yourself and the property correctly. Again, right there, says that the agent is honest and trustworthy. Another thing that listing and sellers value. That the agent is a friend or family member does have a certain part of this. And so we want to make sure that, that an agent is a friend or family member or is referred by a friend or family member. We want to take those things into consideration. And if you were in the class with me when I was teaching about geographic farming, understanding that there is going to be a certain portion of the pool. You will never have 100% ownership of a farm area because some people do want to work with someone who's a friend or family member. So just be aware of that. And then agent experience does have a value. Again, if you do not have experience, that's okay. Use the power of the office that you're with. Use the power and leverage of the work that we've done, because you are learning and training and mentoring with some of the best that are here in the area. So taking advantage of that. And then, you know, right there, you see that image. There's a big chunk that is all the other things that matter to a seller. So who are your competitors? Let's go ahead and put that in the chat box. Who are your competitors when you are potentially competing for a job? Okay, so Kelly said other agents. Sure, you are sometimes. For Eve, she says her biggest competitors are fellow KW agents. Absolutely. You know, I first started my business. Sorry to be distracted. I'm just sending a password really quickly. And when I started at Keller Williams in New Tampa, Keller Williams New Tampa had about 51 to 53% market share. So what that means is that for every 10 homes that were on the market in New Tampa, 5 to 6 of them were all Keller Williams agents. So when you were going on a listing presentation and you were competing against 2 other agents, more often than not, all 3 of you were from Keller Williams. So the seller was like, oh no, yeah, we totally get it. Keller Williams, we're going with Keller Williams. Now it's just a matter of who we're gonna go with. And I can tell you that no matter how good or prepared I might be, some people might go with someone else just simply because they reminded them of someone. I can't tell you, I've had a handful of listings where people have just said, well, you know, you remind me of my son, or it's from that perspective that is, there's a sense of relationship that's instantly built, a connection and energy that's there that is not based on fact or logic for some people, because they felt like you are going to be the person to get the job done. So do understand that your value proposition does need to have a myriad of the logic aspect, the emotional aspect of it, making sure that you're really taking advantage of all of the parts that someone could be looking for. Remember, there's a bold law that says logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. So we always need to make sure that we're peppering in both aspects as much as possible, depending on that personality. So part of your value proposition is your technology. Are you using your Keller Williams app on your phone? Are you using the landing pages? Are you using some of the things that are here? I have shown previously some of the things that you have, and one of those is to be able to show inbound and outbound referrals from our area. So I'm going to stop my screen share here for a moment so that I can then pull up on Chrome what that looks like in your command. Where'd you go? There we are. All right, so when looking at this, let's go to the home of command, which is agent.kw.com. In there, we're here in our activities. We're able to see, we're going to go down to referrals. In your referrals, you're going to see that there's a couple different things that are here. One is that you can grow your referral network of agents in different areas that you can work with. But imagine you're going to click on map. Imagine that you're sitting down with a potential listing and you're telling them that part of what you do is you market their home to the brokerage community. And one of the things that you do is you actually spend some marketing dollars advertising to the cities that have the largest migratory patterns to the city of St. Pete. Because we know that not everybody is going to come from the local area. We know that there are people that are going to come from Chicago. There are going to be people that come from Boston, from different places. And so we want to make sure that we're advertising first to that brokerage community, then to the buyer community that's out there. So I'm going to click on the map, and then I'm going to go here on this drop down where it says production. I'm going to do referral patterns. And so it's actually going to show me to my city and out of my city where the majority of referrals actually go to. So what you'll notice out of all of this is that out of 193 results, the top 20 cities are right here. Well, the top 5 that are actually referring to the city of St. Pete are in the state of Florida. Well, at least in the South. Right, 4 of the 5 are in Florida. So as much as we want to spend money to say, oh, well, we'll market to Philadelphia, we'll market to New York, we'll market to some of these places, we're realizing that a lot of people are sending referrals out to agents in these areas. So a lot of people who live in Florida might be, or live in the Tampa Bay area, might be moving to Orlando because it is a big metropolitan city. Maybe they're moving there for a job. Maybe they're moving to Atlanta because they're a part of the banking system. And Atlanta is the Southeast regional hub for a lot of the major banking systems that are here. So you're able to see exactly where a lot of our referrals are going out. Now, what we're most important and what's most important to us is where are the referrals that are coming in to the city of St. Pete. So we can see that a whopping 10% of all referrals that have been sent into, meaning that these are people who are looking to buy in the city of St. Pete, are coming from Orlando. They're coming from Valrico, Florida. They're coming from Seminole, Florida. I don't know why anyone's sending a referral from Seminole, Florida to an agent in St. Pete, but that's interesting nonetheless. And then we have Anchorage, Alaska, right? And Scottsdale, Arizona. So the top 5 are, again, the top 3 of the 5 of inbound referrals come from the state of Florida, followed by Scottsdale and Anchorage. What are some thoughts on this tool? First, did you know that that's one of the things that you can do, first of all? And then secondly, how great do you think it would be for you to be able to show that to your potential client about their listing and where you plan on sending it? Yeah, Kelly said it's impressive. Eve said sellers would like this. And to Eve's point, with this even more is if a Keller Williams agent is my competitor and that Keller Williams agent doesn't know all about their technology, they don't know about command, they don't know about some of these things, that could be the deciding factor. They're going to go with Keller Williams, and now this is why they went with you instead of the other person, is because you've really immersed yourself in the technology. All right, so I want to take an opportunity. It is 9:40. Let's take about 5 minutes for you to craft just a real quick value proposition. So this would be your elevator speech. This would be if I was sitting next to you at a bar, but 6 feet apart, and you overhear that I'm talking about real estate. And so you ask if I need any help. I go, listen, I know a ton of real estate agents. Why should I choose you? You need to have an answer. And it's an answer that's going to be uniquely yours. So let's take the next 5 minutes for you to be focused on why someone should work with you. What about your past experiences? What about your knowledge of the area? What about you that makes you uniquely you, the thing that someone's going to want to do business with? So I'm going to shut up because I usually fill space, and I'm going to come back in about 5 minutes. If you would, once you have your value proposition crafted, Don't worry, this isn't getting tattooed on you. It's not going to be put on your tombstone, but just go ahead and put it into the chat box so that we can start to work through it once you have it crafted. All right, let's see what you got. Eve said, you need an agent who knows the market, is technically savvy, and an expert in finding the perfect deal. Yeah, that was great. Kelly Reynolds says, I am an agent with the #1 office in my area, and because of that, I have access to the best training and technology in real estate. Yeah, that's wonderful. Let's keep them coming. Linda says, I would love to meet with you to illustrate the value that I can bring you through Keller Williams. My integrity coupled with Keller Williams' reputation together can bring you the most value to achieve the best results. Absolutely. And I know you were only doing it, Linda, because it was shorter. However, I do want to make sure that I do hit on this. When it comes to doing the acronym KW, in the state of Florida, most people think KW means Key West. So a lot of people don't actually know what KW means. So just make sure that when you're referring to Keller Williams, that you refer to Keller Williams in your marketing material. That's just a little aside. I just want to make sure that you are building that brand as well, along with your own. But great job. I love exactly what you're saying. And I love that you're tying in Keller Williams. Bo says he's a local expert trained by the top brokerage in St. Pete and have a beat on some deals before they even hit the market. Yeah, that would be very advantageous for a buyer for sure. All of these are great. All of these are great. You know, if I was to do one off the cuff, then what I would say is, you know, I was born and raised in this area. I know it very well. And I know that people buy real estate to build wealth through real estate, as well as there's a lifestyle that's associated with it. I look forward to the opportunity to getting to know you, to getting to know your financial goals, as well as your lifestyle goals, and to use my expertise and my knowledge of the local area to help you find the perfect home, right? Absolutely. Kat said, I believe in providing the best information and technology to help you make the right decision for your specific needs, wants, and goals. Kelly said, fun, adaptive, driven, successful, calm, understanding, grace under pressure, detail-oriented, good listener, good taste, hardworking, relationships matter, curious, interested, positive, balanced, kind, etc. She has to work that into something. Yeah, I mean, right now that's like an OkCupid profile, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it because you're identifying what are the things that make you uniquely you and why someone would want to work with you or potentially date you. But either way, I love the path that you're going. And that's why it was so important for me to say, please don't get caught up on this being the end all be all. This now has to immediately go on all of your printed material. Use this time, use this opportunity to get the juices flowing so that you can be working on this particular value proposition for you. Great work, everybody. So delivering your value is the next thing, right? So we want to distinguish ourselves with the information that we know. So one of the things when it talks about that, is making sure that we're creating a stellar experience for the people that are in our world. We talk about this in terms of a lot of the different companies that people usually experience stellar experiences. So if you were to think in the past of a company that you've just had a stellar experience, name one of them. And while you're doing that, I'd like to tell you a story. And it's not my story, it's someone else's story, and they've shared it before, and I've given permission for it to be shared again. So there was a gentleman who had 2 dogs, and one was a younger dog and one was an older dog, and they bought their food from Chewy.com because when you bought the 2 bags as he was doing it, there was actually free shipping. So he was able to get the food at a slightly below retail price, not too much. It wasn't really about the price, but since he saved the time of going to the store and he saved on the shipping, that's where they chose to go with Chewy. Well, unfortunately, the older dog had passed away. And the very next day, because if you order from Chewy, usually you can just set it for every 15 days or every 30 days or however often the frequency that you want the food, and it will automatically be shipped. So that was immediately a reminder. You know, they were mourning the loss of their dog, and then immediately the next day, boom, there's more food for that dog. And so he called Chewy.com and he apologizes and says, we're going to need to cancel our subscription. The reason why we were using Chewy.com was because of the free shipping with the 2 bags. Now I'm not going to need both bags. I'm just going to need the 1 bag for our dog. So we're going to need to go ahead and cancel. And the customer service representative said, first, I'm so sorry for your loss. Please keep the bag. Don't worry about sending it back. Donate it to a dog that needs it, or a humane society, or wherever, someone who needs that dog food. And you know what? Even though you're ordering just the 1 bag, we're going to still honor that free shipping for you. Now, what's the story that was told in that moment to the gentleman who was a shopper at Chewy.com? Yeah, so Eve said that they care, Kelly, that they care about their customers, their dogs, absolutely. That they value him as a customer, yeah. Well, the story gets better. So about 3 days later, they get an edible arrangement that is just saying, so sorry for your loss, you know, we wish you all the best, comfort, whatever, sympathy message, right? And he was taken aback that there was an edible arrangement for this process. And so then a week later, he gets a sketch that was done. I guess someone from Chewy.com had gone online, done a little bit of research on the guy's Facebook, and there was a picture of the 2 dogs. And so they had a little sketch of the 2 dogs done, and they went ahead and they mailed that to him so that he could always remember and have this picture of his dog. And there are all of my dogs apparently going crazy about this story because they're just super fans. Chewy, which is his name, ironically. It's from that percentage or it's from that perspective, rather, that is, now do you think that that person is a customer for life of Chewy? And how often do you think he's told that story? I mean, literally, I'm gonna do a little frame here. Like literally, they need to be right here. I have no idea what's going on, but they have to be right next to me. And so it's from that is that story. He's telling that story like wildfire, and I'm telling that story. It's not even my story, and yet that's the value. Now, do you think that was because the one customer service person was just stellar? Or do you think that was a system that they have at Chewy.com that is predictable, that they can have? Yeah, to Eve's point, it's a company policy. It's a system. This is why we are a company built on models and systems. And I'm going to beat the crap out of these dogs. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I don't hit them too hard. It's from that perspective, though, that is, you're able to realize that you're able to create a stellar experience. And so how much of the policies, the ways that you want your business to be done, can be documented, can be replicated, and can be something consistent, that when someone refers you to their friend, they're doing it because they're expecting the exact same stellar experience that you gave them to be given to the person that they refer to. And if you pick and choose based on price point, based on commission, based on the level of crazy, then what you will find is that a lot of people will not necessarily have that same experience consistently with you and your business. So it's so important that you take time and that you time block to be focused on, what is our value proposition? What is the customer experience? Am I reviewing after or during every time? And we talk about this as to survey, to do case studies with the people that are in your world. And, you know, just make sure that you're constantly getting better. For those of you that either have been in business or haven't been in business, what I would love for you to do, this is one of the greatest things that I did for one of my companies, Leverage Desk, and it's something that we incorporate into a lot of the things that we do, is pull 6 of your friends, family members, pull them from different age groups, pull them from different genders, sexual orientation, like really try to pull as diverse of a group as possible, maybe with different income, maybe living in different price points of homes, and say, you know, I would love for you to come over or to join me on Zoom. And the way that we did it is we provided a little bit of snacks and wine. And then you ask the question that is if they were looking to hire an agent, what are some things that they would look for? How would they respond to certain things that you plan to do a part of your experience? And you basically could sell yourself to these people and get their buy-in on what that experience should look like for you and your company before they ever even need your real estate needs. Now, just out of curiosity, do you think that if those 6 people, even if they've never used you as a client before, if they went through this process of being a part of the experience that you are casting for your clients, do you think that they're going to refer you to the people that they know? Do you think that they're going to choose to work with you because they had a say in the type of experience that someone gets when they work with your company? Yeah. And then what would it look like if you did that with 6 new people every single month? You did a mini focus group where you're asking their opinions, and it's constantly allowing you to build a better business. Now, if I do my math fairly correctly, then the story that I'm hearing is that I would be able to have 72 people in a year's time sit down and give an opinion in a focus group setting, telling me exactly the type of customer experience that they're looking for. And all I have to do is deliver that experience when they choose to hire me as their real estate agent. Thoughts? Again, I did it for Leverage Desk, and I feel stupid that we never did it for Coastal. And it's something that we would absolutely incorporate, and I'm committed to incorporating because I think that it would be great. Yeah, it's a great way to grow your business. It's a great way for people to feel like their opinions mattered, right? And it's something that you can absolutely do. Yeah, it's an excuse to entertain even from afar and to have people over. They're going to feel like they're in your inner circle. Remember, I posed that question last week. What would it look like if everyone in your world felt like they were a part of your inner circle? Well, nothing says that you're a part of my inner circle, not the circle of 5 like we talked about this morning, but nothing screams more of being a part of my inner circle than breaking bread, coming to my house or my office, whatever it might be, and me taking the time to listen to you specifically and give feedback on how you could be better, because everyone has an opinion and everyone thinks that it matters. So just keep that in mind on how you can create a stellar experience. It's not about what you think, because remember from last week that customer experience is not defined by the company, it's defined by the customers. And so that's one of the greatest ways that you can do that. All right, so let's talk about how has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindsets were new for you? What was memorable for you today for this class? Bo said that he really likes value proposition. It's important to set that elevator pitch into memory so that it flows naturally. Absolutely. Kelly Reynolds says that thinking about my business pitch to potential customers. Absolutely. Linda Anderson, different ideas of how we can provide value to customers. Tamisha, the value is creating memorable experiences for all of her customers. Absolutely, not just the ones that you like. Kelly, I like the idea of mini focus groups so much because it will bring up ideas you may never think of yourself and awareness everyone needs that are different. Yeah, and I recorded my focus groups, audio recorded, not to share, not to do anything, but just so that I could go back, because when you have so many people speaking, just as a rule of thumb or best practices, there's going to be so much that you're not going to write down, especially if you're going to be a part of it and moderating, right? In most focus groups, you wouldn't necessarily be involved, but this is more of like a brainstorming mastermind idea, right? Okay, and then how will your behaviors differ moving forward? What actions will you take going forward around you delivering a stellar experience and you defining your value proposition? I'm apparently not firing on all cylinders yet this morning. What actions will you take going forward around this conversation? So Kelly said getting skilled with the technology. Absolutely love that. Kelly, I know we talked on Friday. Do you have access to Command that you can get lost in it? I know we said that you thought you did. Eve said identify people for the focus group. Yeah. And maybe you start with your VIPs, right? You start with your VIPs and you can balance through who are some of those people that are already going to be advocates for you anyway. However, now that they're a part of it even more, that's great. Nicole, oh my goodness. Hi, Nicole. So good to see you. New advertising strategies, what that looks like for you and your business, and ways that you can get in front of people for sure. All right. Well, it is 10:02. And so we need to focus on our daily habits, one of which is to focus on our script practice. So I'm going to stop share for a moment. And just to answer you, Nicole, I know I'm 17 minutes late. Yes, you're muted. This is me just seeing the Q&A question. Is we have Ignite 2.0 script practice. Today is the last day of the Ignite partners that we had from last week. That's on this sheet. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this information. If you are on here or if you're joining us today and you do not have a script partner, please put that in the chat box. What we're also going to need is I'm going to post the link here for the Google Sheet so that you can add your name and your phone number. So like Nicole for joining us, if you would put yourself in there. I think from last week to this week for today, I think Nicole and Tamisha are the only two that are on here that are not already matched up. Please let me know if I'm wrong. If there's someone else that needs it, maybe Bo, you might also be on the list of someone who needs a script partner. Please take the next 30 minutes. You're focusing on your script practice. If you have the script book, if you do not have the script book, then focus on forward questions, right? Making those care calls to the people that are with you, asking them questions around family, occupation, recreation, dreams. We're going to take between now and 10:25 to do our script practice. And then we're going to come back at 10:25 to do a role play where someone can volunteer. Bring a question, bring an issue that you're having, bring something that you would like to see role played. And we'll absolutely do that at the 10:25 marker. So again, if you are having an issue, you do not have a script partner, if you need a script partner, please in the chat box say, I need a script partner, and then put your phone number so that someone can call you. All right? And I'll see you all at 10:25. Got about 5 minutes left. So make sure that if you haven't switched, that you take an opportunity to switch from one person being the agent to one person being the customer, just so that we both have an opportunity. We're coming back at 10:25. All right, so let's come back. And in the chat box, I would love to hear from someone if there is a particular objection, situation, type of script that you would like to hear worked through. Anything that you'd like to work on during these next few minutes. Would love for us to be able to take that opportunity to do so. So go ahead and put that in the chat box for me, please. All right, so Bo said for sale by owner. Okay. Sale of buyer's property, objection from seller. Okay. I think Eve, the sale of buyer's property objection is probably one of the biggest, most pressing ones. And Bo, what I would love for us to do is I'd love for us to set up for the for sale by owner to be tomorrow. That way we can actually dedicate time, and I can shave a little bit more. Well, no, not tomorrow. We'll do it Wednesday because we've got the sales meeting tomorrow. But we'll do it Wednesday, and then Bo, if you will be here Wednesday, we'll work on that one together. Eve, let me go ahead and pull you in so that we can kind of set this one up for people who may or may not know exactly what we're talking about, and how this has been and will be a little bit of an issue moving forward as we have some uncertainty. So I'm going to unmute you, Eve. Can you hear me, Eve?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
So sale of buyer's property objection. What are you getting often from sellers or around this that cause you to ask this question?
Well, actually, this is something I'm dealing with right now with a contract. And I've noticed that seems to be recently coming up more and more, that people need to sell their property before they can buy.
Right.
And I don't know whether it's because of the current market or whatever, but it seems to be something that's popping up fairly frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem that I'm personally running into I've had it happen twice in the last 3 weeks. And the problem I'm running into is my seller is saying, I love the offer. I love the price. I love everything about it, but I'm just too nervous about having them have to sell their property before they can buy my property for cash, I might add.
Okay.
So,
I mean, let's just field it right now. So you've already kind of set that one up. So Eve, tell me, I totally understand that. Would you say that this home is probably the largest asset that you have?
No, actually it's not. This is an investment property. It's a townhouse, about 150,000.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's an investment property. So but it's significant. Don't get me wrong. This is big money for me.
Well, and so, just talking about assets in general, I'm assuming that you've used real estate to build part of your wealth, like this investment property before.
Yes.
Okay. And so have you ever used the income from the sale of one property to buy another one?
Yes.
Okay. And so when a buyer is doing that same thing, how is that different than your experience before?
Well, my experience before is that I did fail to sell a property and I had to cancel a deal.
Sure. And it's very well possible, as you could imagine, for us to be in this predicament. We're having, in some circumstances, where people go under contract and then lose their job.
Yes.
And then they can't buy the property. And it's very well possible that could be one of our issues if we were to deal with someone with financing. What's interesting about someone selling their property and then using the cash is then, of course, we're not having to worry about whether or not they still have a job in order to qualify for the loan. And yet we are going to be caught up on whether or not they can sell their property. Now, would you feel more comfortable if they were already under contract on their property? Or is it really, you just want them to already have the cash waiting right now?
Well, they actually are under contract.
Okay.
with their property? And the answer is yes, I want them to have the cash in hand. I'd be a lot more comfortable if they did.
Well, and I completely understand that. So there is something that we have. Are you familiar with the kickout clause?
You know,
Okay. And so let me, if you don't mind, I'd love to tell you just a little bit about what the kickout clause does in terms of giving you a little bit more leverage. That way, hopefully that can help a little bit with being scared. The kickout clause basically lets the buyer know that you have received their contact information, you've received their contract, we're moving forward with the contract as it is, and yet it still allows me as your listing agent to market the property and let people know that it is still one that is available. If we receive another offer during that time, we go back to these buyers and we let them know that they basically need to double down on their escrow and waive all contingencies, that they absolutely have to buy this home, or we can give them their escrow money back and we can move forward with one of these other deals. And the reason why I share that with you is because I hear your hesitation, and in today's market, to have a property under contract, that someone wanted it and that it was a healthy number and it's really close to what you're looking for, we're in a much better place knowing that we at least have someone under contract than for us to just be accruing days with potentially no interest, no offers. Does that make sense?
yes, it does.
So if we were able to present the kickout clause to the buyers, would that give you peace of mind knowing that I'm still able to go out and market the property and that they get to make the choice whether they want to move forward or we can move in a different direction?
Yes, that would be satisfactory.
Wonderful.
Great job, Michael. You're absolutely right about that.
And so, well, first of all, thank you. And it's from that perspective, though, again, I can't hit on it hard enough. Your knowledge about their objection, so isolating their objection, was one of the most important things for me to do. So instead of me kind of giving you my playbook in my head, if you were to write out what you experienced, Eve, what would you say was kind of the thought process? If you were to recreate that to your seller, what would you do?
You mean recreate what you just did?
Yes.
Or, okay, yeah, okay. I would, number one, isolate what the real issue was, whether it was that the seller didn't have the money, or it wasn't under contract, or my seller was afraid that it was never going to come to fruition, what the real issue was.
Right. So handle the objection first, or isolate the objection first.
Isolate the objection first, right. And then come up with a couple of solutions that would address that particular piece of the objection.
Right.
Because what my seller did was say, I don't like this sale of property. I've gotten burned by it before. I just don't want to deal with sale of buyer's property offers. I just don't want to deal with them. And you're right. If I had maybe gotten a little deeper and said what exactly about them, other than the fact that you crashed and burned on one,
Right.
what is it that bothers you?
I'm like, every deal is contingent upon
Something.
either sale of their property or their job.
Very true. Excellent point.
So when people say I don't necessarily like this contingency, well, we either have a financing contingency or we have a sale of buyer's property contingency. Very rarely do we have the luxury of having someone who is just sitting on a pile of cash that nothing's going to affect them. The stock market hasn't affected them. The economy hasn't affected them. The employment or lack of employment hasn't affected them. So part of just painting that picture that is there are always contingencies, this is just one that's actually on a piece of paper as opposed to just being a paragraph of the standard contract.
Right. Agreed.
And so, yes, I think that how you described how you would recreate it was exactly what I was trying to do. I was trying to isolate the objection, find out what really was the issue, what was it that was uncomfortable, take that and then go, have you ever had this time be just like that time, right? And talking about assets and talking about other things. And then going, if I can provide a solution that keeps us in this moment where we're still moving forward, we are under contract, and yet we kind of have our cake and eat it too, would that make you feel a little bit better instead of just losing this time?
Agreed.
Yeah. So I hope that's helpful.
Very much. I'll put it into practice. Thank you for the time.
Yes, ma'am. What are some takeaways for those of you that were listening, participating? I know that for some of you, you're like, I have no idea what the kickout clause is. Well, this is recorded, so you can go back and listen to the way that I framed it. And also, you have access to the actual form in your Florida Interactive forms in DocuSign. However, just in general, what was your general takeaway of watching that role play? What were some things that you liked about it? So to Bo's point, yeah, didn't know what a kickout clause was. That's okay, absolutely. And let's not get hung up on the document itself. It's more about the process, right? And so to Kelly's point, asking questions to gain clarity, the specifics that are there, absolutely. Good point. What else? Let me ask you a question. Did I sound scripted? Did I sound robotic? Did I sound like it had nothing to do with the actual situation? Yeah. And so again, it's because you have to first practice, right? Perfect practice makes perfect. So you have to practice. And practicing is not just in front of a mirror. Practicing is with other people. Practicing is studying the material so that my confidence on being able to deliver the information is there. And again, scripts are nothing more than a series of questions to get us to the outcome that we want, right? So that is one of the biggest things that we can do. To Eve's point, drawing a parallel from one situation to another is so key, because this is something that people don't do every day. So we need to take them back to a similar situation so that we can gain consensus and we can move them away from the place that they're already in. Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, I hope that that was helpful for you. Again, tomorrow we've got the sales meeting. We might be able to do FSBO tomorrow with enough time. I just want to make sure that we get to lead gen before the 11 o'clock hour. And we have an amazing sales meeting tomorrow with a guest speaker that I want to make sure that you all are a part of. However, right now is the best time, because this is the single most important thing that you can do to build your wealth, to build success in your business, and to make sure that you have future business, and that is lead generation. So please take the next hour. It is 10:38 right now. We're going to go until 11:40. We're going to do a full hour because I'm going to talk for the next 2 minutes. So we're going to go until 11:40 for our lead generation. This is your time. Write thank you notes, send text messages, do social media posts, make phone calls, do whatever you need to do so that you can have a dialogue with another human being. Thank you, Linda Anderson, for clarifying that on Friday. So a contact, right? A contact is not an attempt. If I call and I leave a voicemail, that is not a contact, that is an attempt. A contact is that I have had a conversation, right? A dialogue. I send them a message, they responded to my message. I called them and asked them a question, they answered my question, right? So we want to make sure that we are having conversations. That is a contact. And so during this time, I have you pulled up. If you'd like to, you're more than welcome to lead generate with your camera on and being muted. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this opportunity to do our lead gen. And again, we're going to come back at 11:40, talk about our successes, and then we're going to spend the remaining of our time updating our database. All right, I will see you all at 11:40.